Alright guys, so here we go. The tutorial for this particular look, I'm using the same hair, just different lengths, because this wig was actually made for my friend Kiana, who played Keisha in my Scream Queens short film. She played my assistant. So this is for her wig. So what you're going to need is some good old threads, some combs. I like these spandex caps, a frontal, and your hair with a styrofoam cap. So this is going to be a little fast because this video is very long. So I'm using only 3 bundles in a frontal. So I'm using a 20, a 22, and a 24. And I believe my frontal is a 20-inch frontal. So we're going to bleach the knot. So I like to use BW bleach, and we're going to mix this bleach just so that the consistency is thick enough that it does not bleed through your hair, so you won't end up with a whole bunch of blonde edges. So you pretty much mix it until it's like cottage cheese. It looks like that, like pasty, so that it will just sit on top of the knots, but it will not penetrate and turn your hair blonde. So thankfully, and I'll do this in a separate video, this frontal was already, because she ordered this hair on her own. I just told her what the link was. They don't know that we know each other. We don't even live in the same city. This is the hair that she received, and they actually are starting to, I believe, ship their frontals out already plucked, because this one was pre-plucked before, so I didn't have to do it. But I'll do a separate video on that, as well as the installation. This video will only be for how to pretty much make and construct a wig, not how to put it on and style it, because it's kind of lengthy and it's very detailed. So yeah, here I'm just going to keep taking the bleach, and I'm not really pressing it in. I'm really just more so sitting it on top, but I'm putting enough to where I know it's laying on top of the knots, and it will have contact with them and it will bleach. Depending on how meticulous you are, I personally like to bleach most of the lace in the front as well, because you're gonna cut it off too, but I don't want to like stop at a certain point, because when you do bleach it, it does change your lace color from whatever color it was, whether it be a light brown or a transparent. It's gonna change it to more of a nicer color, well, more fleshy color rather. 40 minutes is what I usually do, because I find 30 minutes is just not long enough and it doesn't really pull for me. So I'm gonna, here I like to put conditioner on it after I rinse it, then wash it, then put more conditioner. I find when I put just shampoo on it right afterwards, it's a little hard, but this actually kind of counteracts the bleach and makes it a little bit more flexible and durable. And the little hairs, the baby hairs that I did bleach, aren't so wiry. They seem like they're softer when all is said and done. So that's what I'm doing here. And you can use any shampoo of your choice. Just make sure it is not just really hella cheap, because it will definitely tangle your hair. So I just use my Giovanni's 50/50 shampoo, and I use my Organics coconut milk, I think, conditioner. So this is what it looks like, excuse me, afterwards. Has a very nice natural looking hairline to it. So these caps, I like to fold the cap up underneath itself. If you guys are having a hard time following this because it's so fast, just slow it down in the annotation menu. So I pin both sides down like such, and I use it pretty much, I pull it to where it's over my hairline, the hairline of it, not the baby hair, but the actual hairline of the frontal meets the cap. So we're gonna just, go ahead and section that off. So threading, it depends on how you do it. This is how I do mine. I take one piece, I pull it through, we make 2 pieces, and then we cut the ends and we knot it at the end. This is just going to ensure that you have some reinforcement, and that one little stitch, or that one little piece of thread rather, is not the only thing keeping your tracks from falling off your cap. This is definitely going to keep things nice and snug and very, 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 very tight. So I like to knot the ends and cut the little piece off, and we're ready to sew. So what I like to do is I go ahead and cut this. All frontals don't come like this. Sometimes they'll come without the lace on the side. So it just depends on you. I like to leave a little bit of lace. It gives me a little seam allowance when I'm sewing, so that I'm not sewing directly into my frontal and it's not so tight that it starts to pull and rip. So I like to leave a little bit of the lace on it, and also I hide that lace when I start to put my tracks too, so you don't see it when all is said and done. The little bit of blonde you see around the edges can be plucked out, but you really don't see it when all is said and done. So I do the loop and pull method. Sometimes you're gonna get, like how I got here, a little stuck and it's not going to want to pull through. It's going to want to knot on you. I'm using nylon thread, by the way, because I know someone's going to ask. I don't like cotton because it gets really tangled. So I like to use nylon. So I sew one side down and then I do the very same on the other side. The reason why I like these caps is because they stretch, so they fit anybody's head. So I don't have to necessarily worry about trying to make it fit for one specific head. I could wear this wig, my sisters could wear this wig, you could wear this, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of versatile for everybody, because we're going to cut the middle out when we're done. So here I'm just going to do the loop and pull, and I'm going to get a little more in-depth about how I'm sewing this once we get towards the tracks, because this is super close together. It's hard to explain, but here I'm going to just explain when I get to the back exactly what I'm doing to ensure that your tracks don't buckle and they don't move or they don't show. Okay, so once we got the two sides down, we're gonna do the top, and you pull it, and it's the hardest thing to explain. But when you are sewing, you're gonna sew in a circle. So pretty much you're gonna do the loop and pull, but always make sure that the thread is behind the needle. When you do that, and you'll see what I mean once we get to the tracks, it's going to create this like fenced in type of pattern, which is going to cause your tracks to lay flat in there. No matter if your head is small, big, whatever, it's not going to buckle and start to create gaps in the back of your head. It's going to actually look very natural and seamless and very flat. This is a very tedious thing. This is why, and then this was very hard for me to do because I'm so used to doing this not on camera. So if I'm all over the place, you know why. I did this. I had just got out the hospital after an asthma attack. I was very tired, and I was just trying to hurry up and get things out because I was slipping on just my videos. I was exhausted, so excuse that. But I didn't say I was gonna be perfect. I just said I was gonna do. Okay, so this is the top part that I'm doing, and for whatever reason this is the same method I used in my last video with curly hair. A lot of people, you guys, y'all requested straight hair, but this is about as close as y'all gonna get. It's the same difference. When I do the styling video for some straight hair, I'll just do one that I've already did that's straight. Then I'll show you how I lay everything down after I do it, but this is the same method I use for every single one of my wigs. And when you do sew your frontals, you want to make sure that, like as you see I'm doing, I'm sewing very close together. So these are her bundles. I believe this is her 24-inch. Normally I would double the backs because if I have 4 bundles, but since I only have 3 and we have to stretch this out to make sure it fits evenly, we're gonna just single all of them. So as you see, I'm gonna go through, and as you can see, it's gonna start to make this fence type pattern, which I'm sure I'm going to show here, and this ensures that none of my tracks are going to move. This is the most important thing. If you don't do anything else right, you have to do this part right. And you just want to make sure. That's why I like to fold the cap, because when you do fold it, it makes it extra durable for that back track, so therefore nothing is gonna move. So you see, all in the back is just this one pattern, and it's very easy to do. You put the thread through. I like, when it beginning, rather, let's go to that. In the beginning, I like to actually take the thread and put it through the weft. Then I like to make a knot, and then I start to sew. So I'll make a through the weft, do a knot, and then I'll go through the cap, make a knot, then I start to sew. So as you can see, I'm going through, and I put it through my frontal, the back of my frontal where that lace was too, and I just made a knot. Now I'm going to go through the cap, okay, and then we're going to loop it, and then we're looping right behind, and right behind. So that's what you do when you loop around. Make sure that that thread is behind, so that way you can make sure that it's looped and it's pulled like it's supposed to be. Now when I do when I start again, like as you guys can see, I ran out of thread. Sorry. What I did was I went ahead and started a new one. When I do start a new track, I put it through, like I did in the beginning, I put it through the weft and then I start looping again. If you don't, it's a possibility that because those two pieces of thread are not connected from one end to the other, you can end up with a loose track. So to avoid that, put it through the weft and then go forward. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go through, then we're gonna make a knot. Now we can start looping. So therefore your anchor is very, very, very tight. And then you just go ahead and you can make this closer if you want to. I like to do them pretty spaced out because I find it takes just so much longer for no reason, and I'm using twice as much thread than I would want to. So you see here, so I'm just gonna look through the back, and then you go ahead, I put it behind and you pull it. So pull it behind, and this is going to take a little practice for those who are not, if you're not well versed in sewing or wigs or anything, this is going to probably take you a couple of tries to get. So, but you see, as I'm pulling it, none of my tracks are moving. So we're going to pull it through. We're going to pull it through. And once you get to the end, once I get to the end, I like to put it through the weft again, wrap it around, pull it, hold it, and then boom. That knot is going to stay at the end. I can cut that off, and then I can cut my track. Usually I'll cut the track first, then I'll go ahead and lock it down. So that's pretty much what you're going to repeat for this. The pattern that I like to do is just from one side to the other. Some people like to do up and down. It just depends on what type of person you are and what you like to do. Me personally, I like to just go from one side to the other side because I know my hair is going to be even. So yeah, you just keep going, and I like to put my tracks right on top of each other with a little bit of space. So as I'm sewing, I'm moving up every so slightly every time I put another track. So again, here at the end, it's something that is tedious. This particular track was the last one of that 24 bundle, and because she only had 3 bundles, I couldn't just take, they're not like all 24, so I couldn't take this extra piece and use it at the top. I had to use it in the back, so I put it in the middle and evened it out to make sure that it was placed directly in the middle. I went ahead and tied the knot, cut it, then I went through the weft again through the cap, and then I started sewing again. So that way I can make sure that everything is nice and tight. So if she decides she wants to do a backflip in her damn wig, she can. This hair is from Amazing Hair. This was the hair in the beginning of this video that I had, and I still have. And yeah, the hair is cool. It's not the greatest hair ever, but it definitely isn't bad in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's very satisfactory for the price that they're giving it to you for. And it had a frontal that was already plucked, which and very well plucked, might I add. So this is, I wanted to continue to show this because a lot of people said in my last review they wanted to see me do the entire wig because I cut some stuff out for time reasons, but okay, this is what y'all wanted, sure. So again, here I'm just doing the same method, and it's very tedious. It takes for freaking ever, but to ensure that your hair lasts and it's nice and it's neat, you have to just kind of take out the time to do so. And this is why it took me so long to do this, because it does take a long time to do, and it's very difficult to do this in front of a camera, in front of a light, you know. And usually I'm just watching TV, sitting down doing it in my lap. I don't have to worry about having it on the counter in front of, make sure my hands are in view and the, you know, the angle is right and that whole thing. So I guess you guys can see at the top it's like extra material on the cap. And that's because that's what you want. You don't want it to be super loose, but you see it's a little space, so it does get some stretch. So when I do sew these tracks on, whomever will put this wig on can still fit it. And in the beginning of this, I did cheat. You'll see at the end when I'm done, I did cheat a significant amount of the frontal forward so that when I pull it back, it will fit my head or whomever's head, and it covers their hairline. If you put it like a closure, where when you have a closure, I usually put it right on where the cap stops and I sew it down because it's not gonna move. But for this, you want it to be a little more forward so that you can have the flexibility to pull it back. Because if it's just pulling, because all your tracks are in the back, remember that. So your unit is going to be a little more way down in the back than it would be with a closure, because you're putting your closure tracks on the side as well. So it's going to balance it out. This is all the tracks in the back, the frontal's in the front. So remember, keep that in mind. So to have a balance and your hair is not pulling, even if you put an elastic band in it, you still want the person to be able to pull it and adjust it to whatever their hairline may be, because all of our hairlines are very different. Okay, so now we're here in the back, and at this particular point it's gonna stop curving so much. You're gonna start to kind of go from side to side. So as you see, my tracks are making a guideline around my frontal. So as you continue to wrap them, you're gonna just keep wrapping and leave like just a little bit of space between each track. You don't want them to be super spaced out, but you definitely don't want them to be too close, especially towards the top, because it's going to start to look bulky. And this is one of the keys of getting your installs to be super duper duper flat. If you make sure that when you're sewing them very close together like this, I'm gonna get much closer here than I was in the back, because here you want to make sure that curvature of the top of your head will cause your tracks to be bulky and show if you don't make sure it's really close. So that's why here, because it's, I mean, to me, because it's less hair, it's it gives you the opportunity to, I mean, yeah, since the tracks are shorter, rather, I don't have to, it's not like I'm doing the whole back part of my head. It's just this top piece. So I really don't mind making them shorter. You can do what you want, but for me personally, yeah. So here, and then here at the top, I'd like to double knot just to be on the safe side, so no tracks are showing, no ends are hanging off or anything. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody and you can see all the tracks. It's just tacky and it's nasty and it's no. So here, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing. We're gonna pin this down and we're gonna do the same braiding method that we were doing before. This one I pulled up a little higher because I'm creating a little bit of space in between the two. What you're seeing right now may seem like it's the top of my head, but in actuality it's the back of my head. Well, it's not the very back, but it's sort of the back, because the frontal that you're looking at is actually all the way on the face of the mannequin. So I'm going to pull all this back, which you'll see in a second. So this is definitely a piece that you want to make sure, because it's still the top no matter what. So you want to still make sure that this is very flat and it does not move whatsoever. It needs to look like it is growing right out of your scalp, and it will not look like that if the top of your unit is very big and bulky and it does not lay right. Okay, and then we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep doing the same thing that we have been doing, which is we're gonna pull, cut, and sew. And this does, I mean, the more you practice with it and you find the things that work best for you, these are things that I personally do, but you can take some of these things as a general idea and make your own. That's what I've been able to do. If you don't know how to thread a needle, if you don't know how to sew tracks in and stuff like that, don't put in the video or the comments, it's too fast, I don't know what you're doing. This is for people who pretty much got a general idea of how to do it, but you need to understand placement of tracks, and you know, that's because I'm not about to be holding classes on how to make wigs, people. I did it once, you guys asked for it again with some different type of hair, and I did. Probably not gonna do this again. It's just time consuming, and it's very tedious to not only do but to edit as well. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and knot the ends of it. And here I like to go through a few times. Just if I don't feel like the ends are laying down like I want to, I'll keep threading and going over it until it's as tight as I can get it to lay down. And then as you can see here, and then here we're closing it up. So I'm leaving a nice yeah, I don't know what it was, like a purple hair. I don't know. It looks like a filler to me. But yeah, so we're gonna go through this again, and we're just closing it up at the top. And as you can see, I'm spreading the hair at the top a little bit more than I was in the back, because all of that hair in the frontal is gonna cover anything that you may possibly see. So because she got 3 bundles, we wanted it to look as nice and as flat as possible. So we have to leave a little bit more space. If this was 4 bundles, I most likely would have doubled the backs and singled the tops like I usually do. And I did that in my other video, which will be listed below as well if you want to watch that one for some extra tips. I'm gonna knock this on up, cut it, and boom. So I think this might be, yeah, the second to last track, because I want to leave, yeah, it's the second to last, because I want to leave a little space, like I said, in between the 2 of these. So here we go. We're almost done, folks. And when you start to get to the top where you're at the back of the frontal, start to sew the track at the corners of the tracks, start to sew those into the frontal. So when you start to scoop and go through the cap, go through the frontal too. It's gonna make everything much tighter and it's gonna stay together. So this is, I lied, this is the second to last track. So you'll see once I get to that very last one. And I only had like a little bit of hair that didn't go all the way, but I was able to actually cheat it, and you can't tell. So your track placement is very, very, very important, because if it is not, you're going to be able to tell. It's just gonna, your hair is just not going to hang right. It's going to look terrible. So as you can see, I'm going through the frontal. So we're going to cut this piece off. And I'm gonna go through the frontal, wrap it, and then knot it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. And then this is the last track. So you see, I kind of ran out of hair just in this little section. But what you can do if you run out of hair, and this is only for a small section. If it's a big section, I would take one from the back or something, because it's gonna look crazy. But what you do is you go ahead and knot that the last track, and just go ahead and scoop it through the cap and through the frontal, and nobody would ever be able to tell. It's gonna be a tad bit of a gap, but if you don't plan on throwing your hair all the way around town, you should be fine. And as you can see here, I went ahead and knotted it down, and I knotted it twice because that was my last one, and cut. Alright, so now we're going to take all the pins and the clips and all that good stuff up. See how I'm pulling it back? So now you see where I was just sewing is in the very back. It's not at the top. So that makes, if that makes any sense. So we're going to dump all this out. I like to use styrofoam heads, because even though you get this little fallout at the end, sometimes the regular block heads, if you sew through it, sometimes your wig gets like sewn to the thing, and then you can't take it off. You have to like cut it out. So here I'm cutting the addition, this is the cap piece. So remember when I put the frontal on the cap and I pinned it down, all that fabric that was up underneath I cut out, because we don't need that. So then you're going to take it and you're going to put it back on there. So you see, now you can see everything. So this looks like a fresh head. This is all my bleach knots. Everything looks great. It looks seamless. You can't tell. The hairline looks great. In a second I'll show you what it looks like actually on me. So this is the exact thing I did for that wig that was in the very front. Nothing is different from this one, aside from the fact that I plucked that one and I didn't pluck this one, and I actually like their job much better than mine. So boom, there you go. You can pull it up. No tracks are showing at all on this unit. Can't tell. I could do a front flip on it and you're good. This hairline looks really, really, really good. So here comes, oh, so this part. So a lot of people ask about the elastic band. This is super simple. If you can sew a hem, you can sew this. you find the ear tabs, which are the ends of your wig. Find those, and right behind those sew find a strap. These straps you can get, they're elastic straps. You can get them at Sally's, you can get them at Michael's, Joann's, and you just sew them in and sew it in where it's a little tight, not too tight, because I've done mine too tight at times and it hurts. Here you go. Here's what the hairline looks on this one. Here is from a little of a distance, and yeah, they came out really great. She's in love, and this is what it looks like on me before I cut it, and I'll show you the cutting process in the actual styling video, but this was a little lengthy, so enjoy.